In 1991, French audience discovered the Chinese wrestling, a new discipline that was first introduced during the Bercy Martial Arts Festival and began to fascinate people because of its quite spectacular style. Chinese wrestling is an empty hands martial art. This very ancient style that we find in classical Chinese literature, such as the novel entitled On the Seaside, is the art of grips and throws. The Shuai jiao techniques are full of suppleness and harmony, with a search for coordination. This demonstration is not the illusion of a fight, but a simple and flowing staging that helps to understand the work on the basic principles of this original art. Roundness of the movements, rotative escape movements, and search for hand-to-hand fight by breaking the distance of the opponent. Chinese wrestling is an art that resembles judo. The differences are that Shuai jiao takes into account distance and space. The Chinese wrestler takes his opponent into round movements that are a preparation to spectacular throws that are the end of his action. The movements are aesthetic. The technical nature of this art is most complex. Work on grips is the key for a tri-jiao fight, as well as a good expertise in counter-striking. In Chinese wrestling, the fighters use impact strikes when they face each other on a great distance. For hand-to-hand fight, they use throws. The Chinese wrestler is never caught off his guard. He knows how to strike, how to escape, how to grip, how to throw, how to strangle. During meetings, the practitioners of other martial arts are often surprised about the efficiency of this art. Shuai jiao allows you to appreciate spectacular throws and techniques that you find today in other martial arts that mix them, but here with a lot of agility, of suppleness, and of speed. Shuai jiao helps especially to listen, to observe the practitioners. Thus, the fights have a flexible form, flowing and most of all very mobile. The movements are very quick, and the numerous group changes make the fights vivid and pleasant. The training focuses on two forms of practicing. One is the traditional one, based on jacket grips work, and the other called Sanchu, that is the application on free fighting of Shuai jiao. It's a fighting strategy consisting in breaking the distance and winning thanks to hand-to-hand techniques, that is, the throws. The history of Shuai jiao. The history of Shuai jiao is most ancient. According to the tradition, this art was born during the legendary time of the so-called Yellow Emperor. According to the text and the archaeological evidence, Shuai jiao was originally used to train the military during the Zhou dynasty. During the Qin dynasty, it became a popular entertainment for the aristocracy. The first competitions took place at the beginning of our Christian era. A silk painting of Castiglione depicts these tournaments in front of the emperor. In 1976, the discovery of a comb from the Qin dynasty period in the province of Hebei, on which were carved two fighters, confirmed the antiquity of this fighting form. During the Song period, scriptures are devoted to Shuai jiao, with especially the Jiali Ji that presents the history, the theories and the techniques. Several other documents mention it, in particular the famous novel On the Seaside. A national sport. Shuai jiao is not only the most ancient sport practiced in China, it is also among the most popular. In the Qin dynasty, Shuai jiao became a leisure activity praised by the upper classes. The first competitions took place at the beginning of the Christian era. These competitions became so important during the Sui period, they lasted more than a month and in front of the emperor. The public records of those times say that the mandarins, shocked with the luxury of those meetings that were distracting the people from his regular activities, asked for their forbidding. But many emperors were thrilled by this art of wrestling. The most famous one was the Emperor Xianxang from the Tang dynasty, who played and lost an entire city during a fight against Li Kunei-chiang, a great champion of the time. Shuai jiao is part of the Chinese martial arts. The Kung Fu masters are often experts in Shuai jiao. Besides, the practicing of Shuai jiao is linked to the Tai Chi Quan practicing, based on the common use of the suppleness and roundness principles. Today, the Shuai jiao is an important sports style in main China as well as in Taiwan. Shuai jiao basic principles. Chinese wrestling is a very rich art. To each grip situation and moving phase, we can follow with the various choice of techniques. Each technique may be performed with different grips and movements. We then call them technical variations. Here is a combination work of several techniques, only on the sleeve and collar grip. Here is now a combination with the same technique, Shuai, with variations on the grips and on the movements. The 36 techniques. Although the application of these techniques should not be automatic, the basic training focuses on the 36 forms that are the fundamental techniques and that should be mastered by the good wrestler. The spirit of Shuai jiao is not to be frozen within the motionless and automatic aspect of these forms. On the contrary, He who trains intelligently must develop his ability to listen, to understand the ways of his opponent's movements, in order to use them to his own advantage. To use your opponent's force, his grips, his movements, and sometimes his strikes in order to defeat him. This is what the Chinese wrestler is looking for, the one who masters his art. 36 techniques, here is a combination that is the Tao of the Chinese wrestling. But what is the amount of work to reach this martial ideal? Basic techniques. In Shuai jiao, the work on the basic techniques, also called Gong, is meant to develop at the same time the suppleness, the coordination, and the explosive force. This work is to be performed either with empty hands or with specific material. The bricks are used for dexterity concerning the wrist, the fingers, in order to work on the grips and the thrust. The belt is used to work out the shoulder, but also helps to develop the explosive snap movement. The bar is to work out the shoulder and the back. The stick is used to work on the harmony and the synchronization of the lower limbs with the upper limbs. This combination must help the practitioners to develop certain aptitudes, such as a remarkable dexterity for grip, a fine suppleness of the hip for explosive force, and also a flowing mobility of the legs for the roundness of the movements. All of this is summed up by a Chinese saying that goes, "A Chinese wrestler must have the eyes like lightning, the hands like arrows, hip like a snake, and feet like a spinning top." Difa falls. If Shuai jiao is the art of throwing, it is therefore important for the wrestler to know how to fall. The training also focuses on two very important aspects: suppleness and good coordination before falling. On the other hand, in Chinese wrestling, the expertise in falls is a quality that the other partner must know. Because a good fall helps the practitioner to understand the functioning of the Shuai jiao techniques that remain quite complex. For almost 10 years now, the international competitions of Shuai jiao that have taken place every 6 months gather fighters from every continent. Europe is represented by France, Italy, Switzerland, Spain and Poland. Africa is represented by Morocco and Algeria. America is represented by the USA. At last, Asia is represented by China and Taiwan. These meetings show, on one hand, the development of Shuai jiao on the world scale, and on the other hand, it shows the will of every practitioner to build an organization that would enrich their practice. Competitions are becoming wider and wider. In 1997, the first international tournament that took place in Beijing was an unprecedented success from a media point of view in China, as well as from a participation point of view. Shuai jiao is a national sport in China. In 1987, Master Yuan Zumu came to France and presented Shuai jiao. He then organized training courses in Europe and in Northern Africa. Shuai jiao became therefore international. In 1992, 1994 and 1996, international tournaments took place. In December 1997, China organized an international tournament in Beijing. Application of fighting techniques. Demonstrations. In France, the wrestling is coming more and more into educational environment. First, the Chinese wrestling is being taught in schools, in one university, and in clubs and societies. Many training courses were and are organized for wrestlers, but also for other budokas who want to gain something from this art. In France, Chinese wrestling has become step-by-step a known reference like other martial arts. Presented during the most prestigious martial arts shows such as the Paris Festival in Bercy, wrestling grows within France and the rest of the world.